Thank you, Susie. To welcome everybody. Um, and please make sure that you give us your first name and your last name. I want to start by saying unfortunately, we've had technical difficulties with getting our message out this week. And so some people are having problems getting on our Zoom. But the upside of everything is that we are recording everything. You will probably want to listen to the program again. I know I'm going to our speakers. So it's going to be on YouTube, and we will send out that link for you later on this week. Okay. Yeah. Whoops. Let's see if I can get going here. We respectfully acknowledge that statewide we are on the ancestral homelands of the indigenous nations that have inhabited these lands since time immemorial, including the Achin, Acamel Odom, Apache, Colorado River, Fort Mojave, Gila River, Havasupai, Hopi, Wallapai, Navajo, Paiute, Pima, Peeposh, Wechan, Yaqui, and Yavapai peoples. Their traditional care and honoring of these lands allow us to be here today. And I just want to add today that the government recognizes 22 tribes just in Arizona. Today, we have an incredible program. We have Unity Rising with Jacob George, and we have Save Our Schools Arizona. So it's going to be one of our absolutely most magnificent ones. In November, we're going to have Copper State Victory, and some of you are wondering what that is. We've heard a lot about it and what it's doing to elect our statewide candidates in November 26th. And we're also going to have Sam Alney. And if any of you know who he is the guru, the consummate genius of voting trends in Arizona. And he's going to speak to us about that. In December, there is no program, so have a wonderful holiday with your family and friends. In January, we're going to have Francesca Martin from Keep Arizona Blue. It's another organization that you must support. It is unbelievable what they are doing to keep Arizona blue. And again, it's a group of young people who are motivated, who are committed to keeping Arizona blue. We'll also have two sets of candidates from the lower part of the ballot, but pieces of that ballot that you must be aware of and must vote for. One is the Arizona Corporation Commission. They impact your pocket all the time. And constables and justices of the peace. And they have a great deal to do with your life every day as well. And then in February, our favorite son, Adrian Fontes, will be here. And he's going to be talking about voting laws, voting restrictions, everything that's important to us for the November 26th election. So let's talk about activism. And I know that many of you have done a lot in terms of keeping your voice loud and consistent. We have to keep doing that. It seems as though sometimes we're not making a difference, but the 7 million that showed up just last week are an increase from what we had before. And they may not like our message, they may not agree with our message, but numbers do make a difference. So please keep on going out there. The numbers are astounding. If for no other reason, to be in a group of people, whether it's 5 or 5,000 that agree with us politically, it's just, it can do so much more than just keeping the momentum going and our own commitment to keep going. So please do whatever you can. The bonds overrides for school districts. Almost every school district does have a bond or override. Today, October 28th, is the last day that you can mail in your ballot. Only mail it in if you said yes. If you said no, hang on to your ballot until November 5th. But you must vote yes on all bonds and overrides. I hate the term override because it sounds like we're over budget, and that's not the case at all. The Arizona public education system, our public schools have lost about 20 billion, that's with a B, since 2008 in funding. My district, Kyrene, is struggling. It's going to have to close almost 9 schools. And if they don't pass the bond, an override, it may be that we have to cut out art, music, and PE. And that's why a lot of the kids come to school. So please vote yes on all your bonds and overrides. If you fall asleep after our program and you miss mailing in your ballot, there are lots of places where you can drop off your ballot on November 4th. So all you have to do is Google that, please, please. But again, if you're voting no, wait till November 5th. Okay. If you want to know what you can do through the Democratic Party, there are 30 legislative districts. You can Google them. There are 9 congressional districts. I would contact not the congressional district because, as we know, not all of the CDs, for the most part, agree with our values and what we believe is important for democracy. But you can certainly go through the Maricopa County Democratic Party, and you can go through the Arizona Democratic Party to find out things that you can do. One thing that you can do by just sitting still is Secular AZ. And our speaker today, Jacob George, is going to be on Secular AZ in November. That's just a Zoom. You can sit and listen and let your blood boil. Secular AZ, just please Google it. Make sure that you have the link every Friday from noon to 1. Sometimes we call it Rage Friday. It's everything from science to politics, but it's scary when you realize how much Christian nationalism has taken over school boards. This is all the GOP playbook. Back in the 80s and 90s, they were running for office and they were, excuse me, taking over school districts, which is the foundation of our democracy. So please check out Secular AZ, and I'll give you the specific date for when Jacob is going to be on that. We've talked every month about CEBV. It's Civic Engagement Beyond Voting.us. This is one of the most important websites that you will go to. Sign up for their newsletter because they will tell you once the legislative session has begun. If you have 5 minutes, you can do this. If you have 10 minutes, if you have an hour, every Saturday and Sunday, I give myself over. My family knows I'm incommunicado because I'm on the computer with my request to speak, giving the legislature my opinion on what I think about certain bills that are coming to the legislature. So please, cebv.us, another great website. StandIndivisible.az.org will tell you all kinds of things that you can get engaged in. It'll keep you up to date. Also with a lot of the protests that you can take part in. This is a relatively new one for me. I never heard of it before, but it's got some great stuff. They call it Rush Hour Resistance Rally because there are things that you can do on your way home and you think, I'm really upset about what's going on. What can I do? Well, it gives you like this example, just things that you can do on the way home, or the next morning, or plan for lots of things in your neighborhood. So check that out. I think it was Robert Reich that posted this. Let me read it to you, and please take it to heart. Some are posting on social media, some are protesting in the streets, some are donating silently, some are educating themselves, some are having tough conversations with friends and family. A revolution has many layers. Be kind to yourself and to others who are traveling in the same direction. Just keep your foot on the gas. And today, our two speakers, Unity Rising and Save Our Schools Arizona, are going to give you 1,000 points of entry to keep your foot on the gas. Let me start with Unity Rising. I have to admit that I didn't know much about Unity Rising until this month. And now it's like everything I hear from people that share my values know about Unity Rising or are excited about it, or both. Unity Rising is a youth-led organization working to build the power of young working class people through grassroots organizing, voter registration, and bold, simple messaging. They empower students on college and high school campuses to challenge far-right extremist narratives, mobilize their communities, and become the next generation of progressives who will work for justice, democracy, and an economy that works for everyone. That is everything that we believe in. Let me tell you about our speaker. Jacob George is dedicated to ensuring representation for working class people and youth. While in high school, he worked multiple jobs and spent many nights sleeping in his car. He is currently a student at Arizona State University, attending through grants and scholarships. As a Phoenix area resident, Jacob decided to run and win his seat on the Balls Elementary School Board to fight for the educators who fought so hard for him. He became involved in politics and has gained valuable experience running numerous Democratic campaigns and working with nonprofit initiatives, experience that will help propel Unity Rising across Arizona. As the founder of Unity Rising, he's committed to taking on Turning Point and amplifying the voices of working Arizonans. With the critical 2026 election approaching, Jacob believes in the power of grassroots action to shape a future that works for everyone. And before I turn it over to Jacob, I would love for everyone to Google Unity Rising. You'll see 2 or 3 URLs that you can click on. One, excuse me, is an interview that he had with the ASU State Press. And there are not many articles when I read them that make me jump up and go, yeah. And this one did. It's absolutely phenomenal how he speaks about his commitment to Unity Rising and to the democratic values. The other one is a live interview. I think there's a picture of it down here with KJazz. And again, it's just reading the article just makes you just stand up and cheer, and gets you so excited about what Unity Rising is doing. Friday, November 21st at noon, please, if you can, tune in to Secular AZ. That's when Jacob's going to be on Secular AZ. So you'll get to hear maybe even more from him about what he is doing. Jacob, it is such a delight, thrill, honor to have you with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Heydrich, and thank you everyone for allowing me to come speak to you on this Tuesday afternoon. I know many of you are busy, so that means the world to me that you guys are all out here. I'm going to go ahead and share a little presentation. I'm sorry if some of you have seen it already. Um, I'm going to have a different one by the time I go on Secular AZ. So Uh, Hopefully, you still gain something out of this if you haven't heard me before. My name is Jacob George. I'm the executive director and founder of Unity Rising. And I'm kind of just going to my story real quick, how I got here today. I'm originally from Utah, and I know you guys are all dying to know, are you Mormon? I am a recovering Mormon, and I am recovering well. Uh, but I've been here in Arizona for about 10 or 15 years now, and when I was a kid, we used to live on the West Valley in Goodyear, Arizona, is where I've kind of spent most of my life. I graduated from Desert Edge High School. But when I was, 14, I decided to kind of get involved when I was going into high school, and I ran for president of multiple clubs, and that kind of piqued my interest. The first club I actually ran for was the Gay Straight Alliance. That was a club I, ran for and decided to become treasurer. And then by sophomore year, I was president. During my time there, I was actually in a health class, and the teacher asked us, "Well, what would you do if you got a girl pregnant?" I said, "Well, I wouldn't get a girl pregnant because I'm gay." And it was funny then, but then the teacher asked me to write it as if I was straight. Right there, I was like, no, that doesn't feel right with me. So we actually joined forces with Lambda Legal, or I did, and we actually sued the state of Arizona over their no promo homo law, which was a law that was enacted in 1992 that basically said that you can't idolize or even teach about being a part of the LGBTQ plus community in high schools or any public education. So we sued the state of Arizona, and I was an unidentified plaintiff, and we actually got that law repealed in 2019. So it was a major win, and that's kind of how I first kind of dipped my toes in the water to kind of becoming where we are now. By the end of high school, at age 17, I was in senior year of high school. I finally came out to my parents. They didn't know anything about the lawsuit or any of the other extracurricular stuff I was doing at school. But I finally came out, and I did get kicked out of my home. And I moved all the way to Phoenix, in the Biltmore area, and I would drive 45 minutes every day to go to high school, at Desert Edge in Goodyear, Arizona. And before I would even go to school in the morning, I would work at Starbucks in the morning, and I would go to high school during the day, and then I would go to work at a restaurant in the evening, and then I would drive all the way back home. But while I was there, in high school, it was my educators and my teachers who really inspired me and just really pushed me to continue to, get through high school, but then also to get college or to get grants and scholarships for college. And that led me to ASU. During ASU, my first year, I was very active. I started working for Mission for Arizona under Mark Kelly's coordinated campaign. And then in 2024, I was working for Tim Stringham, who ran for county recorder. And I also decided to run in my school district in Phoenix to kind of give back to the educators that fought so hard for me. Um, and after the last election, that's what led us to Unity Rising. A couple of people from the Human Rights Campaign, after all got laid off after the last election, we kind of came together and we said, well, there's an issue. No one's really targeting Turning Point, and no one's actually going into the schools. And Jacob, since you're in Arizona and that's where Turning Point's in Arizona, why don't you start something? And so that's kind of how it started. And she already kind of, Dr. Hyder kind of went over our mission, but you, I think it pretty kind of, condenses it well into some of the lessons that we learned from the last election. So kind of why it matters here, the GOP youth support has surged from 37% to 47% in 2024. So Democrats have kind of consistently, ever since 2008, have gotten around 60% of the youth support during presidential elections. So this is very concerning to see that Dem support drops to 51% in this last election. And I credit Turning Point for, they're winning the long game, and they're good at what they do, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit more. So what is Turning Point? Turning Point is, founded by Charlie Kirk, and I just want to say I don't condone political violence by any means, but I'm of course not going to martyr the guy. The guy was horrible. He said that, he wouldn't get on a plane if the pilot was black because he was probably a DEI hire. So, horrendous things like that. So I'm not going to martyr him or anyone from Turning Point by any means. But Turning Point was founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk and Bill Montgomery. That's the Arizona judge, Bill Montgomery. They have over 3,500 high school and college chapters across the country. And that number has actually probably grown since the death of Charlie Kirk. And we are seeing a lot of people that are interested in high schools across Arizona. Last year alone, they brought in over $85 million in revenue. That's just from the side that we can see. So they're actually divided into four separate legal entities. They have their PACs, they have their C3, C4s, and then their endowment. So from this, we actually kind of predicted that they brought in around $115 million. But from the sides we can see, it's around 85 million. They operate in all 50 states, but not just that, they're actually in different countries now. So they're in Australia and the UK. So this is something that they're trying to take worldwide. And Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk, they have both said that that is their goals to go worldwide. And they are doing that as we speak. They promote far right propaganda on campuses. And I already kind of went into how they're separated. Okay. So why does Turning Point work? They do year-round organizing, not just during elections. And that's something that the Democratic Party, I think we have to do better on, is that we cannot like scale down during off years. We need to scale up. Now is the time to be canvassing. Now is the time to go out there, meet our neighbors, and do that relational organizing. They provide free activism kits and resources for their students in their chapters. They also mobilize those youth into right-wing politics. And then lastly, they blend politics with culture and outrage. Um, so as you can kind of see from like the right here, they have these mobilization kits that basically, kind of are trying to appeal to youth in a fun way. They try to make it almost like a club that everyone kind of wants to join and be a part of. And so that's kind of something that we're kind of taking from it and trying to do the same thing. So some Unity chapters. This actually we have about, I think, two more high schools now. So we're at around 9 high school chapters that we're still in we're in the process of getting everyone up and running. But our goal is to have 25 by the end of the year. We provide up to $1,000 a year to support these chapters. So each chapter gets their own mobilization kit, like Turning Point does. They get a tablecloth, they get voter cards, they get voter registration forms. They also get stickers, shirts, all the fun things that kind of makes it fun to join this club. They're focused on civic engagement, so voter registration and community action. So one thing that we're able to do is since we're a PAC, we can actually be more political in these schools. So we can do partisan voter registration, which is something that we've done and has been kind of very successful, at least in our Mesa school. And I'll kind of go more into that. Um, but yeah, so right now we're actually seeing we need more chapters in, the Tempe, Ahwatukee area over there in LD12. So we need, definitely need help there. But we're actually seeing a lot of chapters come from red areas. So we have one in Mesa, we just got another one in Shadow Ridge High School in Surprise, and then we got one at Millennium High School in Litchfield Park, and there's like another one that's interested in Dysart. And so we are seeing a lot of what I'm hearing is that, hey, like somebody's starting a Turning Point chapter and we don't want that here. Can we start a Unity Rising chapter? So that's kind of what we're getting a lot of. And so it's been kind of growing kind of rapidly in the last month. So our focus is in 2025, raise more seed funding. We just started this year, so we're trying to kind of grow at a steady rate. Digital platform growth through social media, trying to appeal to our generation, and then develop 25 chapters, social media advertisements, trying to get people to join the chapters. Our Turning Point tracker, which we're still working with right now with Eric Chalmers, and we have like kind of like if you're a member, you get updates every month on what Turning Point's doing. And then voter registration is another one of our big focuses. If you don't know, Republicans have around a 300,000 majority and voter registration numbers over Democrats in the state of Arizona. Not just that, a couple weeks ago, I was down at the county recorder's office and trying to get voter registration forms, and I saw that there was a batch form for Turning Point that had requested 40,000 um, forms. So that's what somebody told me. I think it was actually Sandra Bonnie told me that she found that out. So, and I also saw that they had another batch when I was down there. So they are doing voter registration very heavily, and it's something that Democrats need to do better on. And we have to get, we have to get up there and do our work. So our media strategy, you can't be afraid to throw punches. Pop culture meets politics without the cringe. The goal is to reach young people where they are. You can't be preachy, not boring. You have to keep it simple. And that's something that right-wing social media people do so well. They're really good at getting reactions. And so one thing with social media is you have to be a little bit out there in order to get the algorithm to favor you and to kind of send your stuff out into to TikTok or Instagram or into people's feeds. And so something that we're kind of trying to do is we're every Wednesday we do our Burn Book Wednesday, where basically we just kind of talk crap about a Republican in the sense that we tell them all the bad things they've done, and we try to make it kind of Gen Z. So we do the Burn Book, which is for Mean Girls. If you haven't seen the movie, it's a really funny movie. And so for Pete Hegseth, he's our Secretary of Oversharing. If you get it, you get it. And another thing that we're very passionate about is doing Trumponomics. Every time somebody says something about the economy, we're just like Trumponomics, the same thing they did about Bidenomics and all this other crap. So that's something that we're really kind of focused on is really fighting these people on social media and not taking the foot off the pedal to say. So our long-term vision, this is an investment in a long-term sustainable organization, not just a one-issue race. So right now we're in Arizona PAC. We have people interested in other states that are wanting to start chapters. So I think New Mexico, New York, and Massachusetts were some other states that have kind of showed some interest. I think Washington and Oregon. So we are kind of looking to like expand into a federal PAC next year. We don't want to grow too fast. We kind of want to maintain our focus on Arizona for right now. But this is kind of our current timeline, and then hopefully do a C3, C4 by 2028, 2029. Especially for 2028 to kind of have a C3 for the next presidential election. So some current updates. Um, Back in July, I filed um, a, rep a report, a legal complaint with the Clean Elections about Turning Point and how they spent over $500,000 on ads for Andy Biggs, and they didn't disclose who their top three biggest contributors were. We're still waiting to hear back from Clean Elections. They've honestly been kind of slow, but we're continuing to pressure them and bother them until they give us a response on where that's at. Turning Point did respond and basically said, and I got a call from a reporter. They basically said, well, we shouldn't have to disclose our top three biggest contributors because our donors are afraid that these activists are going to come after us. And I'm like, the lady was like, "Are you an activist?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm an activist. I vote. Doesn't that make everyone an activist if they vote?" Like, so yeah, it was just a weird conversation. And she couldn't even describe what an activist was. So it was a little concerning, but basically they broke the Arizona dark money law, which was passed in 2022, that was passed overwhelmingly by Arizona voters. That just basically says you have to disclose who your top three biggest contributors are if you're going to spend over $500,000. I think that's a very valid law, and I think that Turning Point is no exception, and they should have to follow it. So our Trumponomics post, kind of saying, this is all Trump's economy. It's not, the economy that is for the working class. He lied to you. He lied to, our people, especially young people, and he's not helping us one bit. Um, One of our chapters did voter registration on National Voter Registration Day, which I think was like a month ago now. But they did over 100 voter registrations in 2 hours. And this was actually in East Phoenix, or sorry, East Mesa. So far East Mesa, red area. It was actually at Red Mountain High School. And out of those 100, 90 were actually eligible to actually register to vote based off their age. And Out of that 90, 60 actually registered as Democrat, 20, 30 actually registered as independent, and then 10 registered as Republican. So it was kind of a great win in my eyes to kind of see how many people they were actually able to register as Democrats, especially in Far East Mesa, and this is something that can work. One thing that all of our chapters have to do is they have to do 2 voter registration drives per year, and then they have to do one community service event per year. So it's that relational organizing to try to get our name out there, but also to show that we're not just about politics, we're about helping the community. We were also at Yasmin Ansari's wonderful town hall where she was talking about the Trump and Republican meltdown. I call it a meltdown because that's what they are. They're melting down, um, and how they are causing families premiums, healthcare premiums to skyrocket. How we're not going to have, SNAP benefits for thousands of Arizonans. And Yasmin nailed it right on the dot, and she was amazing. Couldn't ask for a better congresswoman to represent Arizona. That's all I have. I will take questions. I hope some of you guys have some questions. I see the chat has some questions as well. If you'd like to donate, or we call it investing, because it's investing in a long-term org and investing in Arizona's youth, feel free to do so.
Jacob, this is Janie. Thank you so much for today. That was a great introduction for many of us for Unity Rising. There are two things that came out of your talk. One is that the Republicans, Trump in particular, absolutely hate being mocked, and that's the
Mhm.
one perfect way to get at them.
Right.
Second is that we can support what you're doing with money. I just went on yesterday. It's so easy to do online. And we may not be able to go into the high schools. We can't work with you necessarily, but boy, the money makes a huge difference. And you
Mhm.
just showed us what your long-term plan is, and how the funding is so critical to each
Mhm.
one of those stages. So um, I really recommend people to go online to, excuse me, to Unity Rising and contribute. Please, this is so important. Um, you said in passing, it was a really quick statement. I had to make fast notes.
Mhm.
That in addition to politics, that it's not just politics, that you're helping the community. I think with democratic values, those are one and the same, because democratic values are what the community needs to improve itself, to become independent, to become worthy people, whether it's giving them food or housing,
Right.
support through the government, everything. So it's not a separate thing. The politics, especially with Unity Rising, is exactly what helping the community is.
Yeah.
Ruth Landau had a question, and I wonder if you could deal with hers first, and
Yeah.
it's in chat.
Okay, I was just reading it. Yes, we do have a strategy. At the beginning of this year, we kind of wrote down our strategy, and what we would need to do everything that we wanted to do. If we really wanted to, do a lot in Arizona, we tried to do like a bare bone budget. We would need like 500,000 just to try to get into so many schools and do voter registration. And that seems like a lot. It is a lot, but we could do a lot with that. We're not funded by the DNC. We don't get any money from the ADP. We don't get any of that. And so it really, we try to make our money go a long way. Another thing that we try to do is we try to actually save half of our money. So we're trying to be very fiscally responsible here, but not just saving it, but putting it into like high yield. So we're not losing interest on it, all of that stuff. So we're trying to be very financially responsible here. That way we can build up our war chest. Another thing, we obviously need more chapters. And so if you know any grandchildren in high school or community colleges, that would be interested in starting a chapter, they can just go online and we will like help them through the whole process. So the next step for Unity Rising and that we're kind of looking at it is to try to bring on someone that's full time is just their whole job is just chapter development. So going out there, finding, prospective chapters, trying to find these students through social media, saying, hey, would you like to start a chapter? And giving them all the supplies that they need. And then also helping them, find a teacher that is a Democratic teacher at their school, all that stuff. So we definitely need, obviously more money, but we also need more chapters. So if you know any students in high school, or even if you know some teachers in high schools that would be interested in sponsoring that chapter at their school, that's some ways that we're going to be able to grow. So we have seen a lot of interest in this, and there are a lot of students that want to do it. We just need to reach out to them.
Jacob, this is Jeannie. I'm gonna interrupt again.
Mhm.
I just saw in the chat too that Ellen Shama just contributed. And I will
Thank
say
you.
this, that for the remainder of our program today until 1:30, I will match up to $500 if people will contribute to Unity Rising. So please, Ellen did it while she was still paying good attention to the program. All you have to do is Google Unity Rising, and you can go on there and make a contribution, and I will match any contributions up to a total of 500. This is
Well, thank
so important. It's something that has not been done, but it's absolutely critical. We need a committed group of people who are going to turning point on their heels and get them out of high schools and colleges. And this is the group that will do it. So
you.
please Google contribute today.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
thank you. And
yeah,
there's some other ones.
help Melanie Hobden had a question.
Okay, yeah. And then I'm gonna answer Allison's real quick. I'm just kind of going through the chat here as well. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think a lot, so like what the Republicans have done so well is, through podcasts, what they do is they sprinkle some of their, they don't talk just about politics. They get these young people in. It's like it is a cult. So they bring young people in, they bring them in somehow type of engaging them, like Joe Rogan, for example, and then they sprinkle their political ideology in there. And so that's kind of something that we're doing, but not as cultish, trying to make it about the community, and that's what the Democrats are about. We are about community and helping people. And so hopefully that kind of answers your question. And then there's more. Uh, I don't know who the Bill Montgomery is for us. We're still looking for that person. Um, but I will say, like, it's not just, you've got Pulte Homes, you've got Home Depot that donates to Turning Point, and so many other orgs. So and how can we bridge the boomers with Gen Z? I think right now, Gen Z and the boomers have so much in common. We are all kind of trying to make it, boomers are, trying to get their social security, and they're worried about social security. We're all kind of worried about the same things. And, I hate it when even boomers say, that it's our fault, and it's not your guys' fault. First of all, you guys are here, you guys are showing up, and that's amazing. We have a problem with the system, and it's the system that needs changing. And so I don't want anyone here to say, it's your fault. But I think boomers and Gen Z have more in common right now than ever before. And we should be uniting on that, and fighting and working together for that.
Jacob, this is Jacob, I'm gonna interrupt one more time.
No, you're good.
When I was running for office in 2012, I was giving a speech, and I said something about the young people being the future of the Democratic Party. And
Mhm.
Jesse Avalos came up to me and he said, Jenny, we're not the future. We are the party.
Mhm.
This is so true. And I
Yeah.
think especially Unity Rising has that possibility. I mean, the momentum, the commitment of your people branching out, it's just, this is who we are now. Thank goodness for you.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people contributing. Thank you so much. My match is up there still, so. More
Perfect.
questions.
And then I'm going back to Roos. We do actually have an adopted chapter. So if you do like $80 a month or $1,000 a year, basically you get your own thing on the website. And that helps with like the cost of sending them packages and all this stuff. And you actually get to designate it to like a civil rights activist. So if there's a certain one you like, you can basically say, I want to designate this to Rosa Parks, for example. And that chapter basically gets that money. And so we could do that here today. We could call it the Blue Tuesday chapter or something like that. Just trying to unsee. Yes, so they are trying to unsee a Turning Point, Julie Spilsberg, and we've actually sent out some text to young people under the age of I think 20 or 30, under the age of 30, to try and get her to be on the to continue to stay and to vote yes on keeping her in and vote no on removing her. So they trying to do a recall election on her basically because she supported um, Kamala Harris, but she also supported the Right to Marriage Act. And I'm not quite sure which year it was. I think it was earlier, like 2022-ish time frame. And the Mormon Church actually was in favor of that Right to Marriage Act. And so it basically gave, same-sex couples the same rights as a regular, straight couples. So it was a great act. It wasn't, everything that we wanted, but it was a step in the right direction. Um,
Jacob, this is Janie again,
yeah,
interrupting.
you're good.
But I love the idea of sponsoring a chapter.
Mhm,
My grandson is in junior high right now. He will be starting at Corona next
mhm.
year. Is there a chapter at Corona? And if not, can I sponsor a chapter there?
Yes, you can. I talked to, what's her name? Jennifer Hillsboss, or I think is her name from Pinal County Dems, and I know she was interested in helping out, and she knows some people in Tempe. I think she knows a teacher too. So, at what school did you say you wanted at again? Corona?
Corona del Sol. It's part of
Yeah,
the Tempe Union High School District.
that was the one that she said. And so, yeah, I think that would be a great high school to do one at. And if your grandson would like to do that next year, please
Yes.
let's
Yes.
get it done.
Okay, good. Good.
So some of the schools were in Red Mountain High School in Mesa. We need more we need actually more in blue areas. We haven't really had any interest in it, so we need a lot more. So we're in Red Mountain Mesa, Millennium, Shadow Ridge High School. We are working on one at ASA in Phoenix. There's one. Um, I think
Other questions.
Mountain Ridge, and then there's some more in the Slack that I'd have to look at. And I think there's another one in Dysart too. So we need more kind of in blue areas and Scottsdale as well. Turning Point's biggest chapter is at Chaparral High School. So we really want to get in there.
Well, now I'm interrupting and have to say thank you so much for being one of our speakers today. This was absolutely wonderful. And with all the depression and fear that we are feeling with this administration, this really gives us a solid alternative to invest in and to support. So thank you so much, Jacob, for being with us today.
Of course, thank you. And I'm going to drop my phone number and my email in the chat. So if anyone has any ideas for chapters or if they know anyone, feel free to give me an email. And we also on our website, there's a starter chapter where someone can just go on and put in their information and they can start a chapter that way.
Okay, thank you again, Jacob. We
Thank you
really
so
appreciate
much.
that. Okay. Oh, there we go. I hope you can see my screen now. Okay. Let me move to the next one. Our next speaker, Leda, is from SaveOurSchoolsArizona.org. And every month since I can remember, we have said something about Save Our Schools because it is so critical with our state legislature cutting public school funding and the federal government making it more and more difficult for public schools to do their mission, which is to provide quality public education to every zip code. Here's the vision for Save Our Schools. We're a nonpartisan, community-based organization fighting for strong public schools for a strong Arizona. And as I began this at noon today, if you have not already sent in your ballot for bonds and overrides and you are voting yes, please mail it in today, October 28th. If you forget or take a nap and you miss it, there are plenty of places for you to walk in your ballot on November 4th. Here are the 3 parts of the SOS mission: to empower parents, teachers, and citizens to advocate for strong public schools in every community, to advocate for responsible education policy that keeps public dollars in public schools and ensures transparency and accountability of taxpayer funds. And lastly, to collaborate with other education and community advocacy groups to achieve full funding for public schools. And as I said, every month we talk about SOS Arizona and what you can do. We've posted these from SOS AZ. If you don't already subscribe to sosarizona.org, please do so. I'm a retired teacher. I think I was probably in the top 1% of knowing what's going on in Arizona in public education. No way. I am religiously going into sosarizona.org to find out what's new, what's more abusive, and what I can do about it. So please, sosarizona.org. It is one of the best organizations out there. Its focus is education. That is one of the pillars of a knowledgeable, informed, democratic voterage. So please save our schools. And our speaker today is Leda. So glad to have you here today, Leda.
Thank you, Janie. I did throw together some slides. This was kind of last minute thrown in for me, but I did get some slides together. So do I have sharing capabilities?
You should. If you don't, then we'll find out pretty soon.
Let me.
While you're checking, yes, you are a co-host now. While you're doing that, let me tell the rest of the audience that Susie Thornton has been doing an incredible job of putting everything in the chat. So you've got links to everything that's been mentioned today, anywhere that you might want to go for Unity Rising and for Save Our Schools. So please make sure you take advantage of all those in the chat room.
So I'll go quick because she already covered this. We are nonpartisan. We are a statewide network, and we are 20,000 plus strong volunteers throughout the state. We could not do the work we do without the amazing volume of volunteers that we have. For those of you that aren't familiar, we do have regional community action teams. We refer to ourselves as CATS. I am one of 2 in the East Valley. My partner is Lisa Calderon. You probably know her as well. We've been to lots of different things, doing presentations for different people and different reasons in your area. I live in Gilbert myself in LD 14. Boo. She lives in LD 13, and we cover the entire East Valley from Queen Creek to Mesa to all the way out there to you guys in Ahwatukee and LD 12. And we work really hard to stay as local as possible and work locally, although we do advocate at the statewide and the national level as well. And of course, we do lots and lots of different things, from going to school board meetings, state capitol, presenting. This is my 3rd presentation I've done in less than a week. I've been in Prescott. I was in Friendship Village doing one yesterday to that community, and I'm here today. And I actually just wrapped up canvassing. Lisa and I knocked, I think, just under 90 doors this morning for the bond and override, telling people get your ballots in today. And you'd be shocked how many people did not know today was the last day to mail them. So we do a little bit of everything and plug in where we can. Of course, The reason we're here is because we believe that every kid, no matter where they come from, what community they live in, deserve a well-resourced quality education in their neighborhood that they can walk to or get a bus to. And we know, I know you've seen a lot of this stuff, so I'm going a little quick on our introduction slides, but public schools provide so much more. And I don't want to say than just an education, because of course that's huge in and of itself, but we know they provide food, transportation, and many wraparound services. And I will highlight the food because now with SNAP benefits going away this weekend, it's going to become more essential than ever that kids are getting their meals at school. So just so important, all of the functions that schools provide. And in addition to that, they have community events. I know when I was teaching, I went to one of my students' basketball game, and lo and behold, the location was the school I taught at, which was really exciting. I loved being back in there and being there for another reason. And for those people that don't care about any of those other reasons, if the only thing you care about is money, they do raise property values. They are really important. Good public schools, people move to communities for public schools, businesses move to communities for public schools. So they are a huge, important investment in our communities and in our state. So we'll get to the nuts and bolts. This is all review. The catch-up stuff will be in a minute, but I just think it's really important to go back over why it's so important that we continue to fight. In Arizona, and I can't see the chat while I have it in presentation mode. So if there's anything that pops up, Janie or somebody else, if there's something that pops up and there's a question, I'm happy to answer it now, or we can wait till the end. Totally up to you guys how you want to work that. So Arizona public schools are currently funded at 49th in the nation. It's terrible, but it's been that way really for decades. I think the best we've been in the last couple decades is 45th. The bottom 5 is not where we should be, not where we want to be, and it's not okay. And so that is a huge reason. Another thing, our classrooms have the second most students in them of any state in the country. I have one child still in our public schools. She's a junior in high school, and some of our classes have over 40 kids in it. And as a teacher, that's just mind-boggling to me. Arizona teacher salaries have been and remain in the bottom 5 across the country. And one thing I always want to remind people is you hear teacher shortage, teacher shortage, teacher shortage. There is not a teacher shortage. There are over 30,000 certified educators in the state of Arizona. There is a teacher retention crisis because either the treatment of how they're being treated, how they're paid, all of that combined together. There's a lot of reasons, but we do not have a teacher shortage. We have a retention crisis. Our student to counselor ratio is currently second worst in the United States. It used to be first worst. Kathy Hoffman did bring us out of first and brought us to second. That numbers, the average is 1 counselor to about 230 students. Arizona has 1 counselor to over 700 students. So almost triple what the national average is. And then our school facilities are $3 billion in arrears. I'm not sure how much of you have paid attention to the news or have listened, but there was recently a judgment that came out that the Arizona legislature was found that they have been violating the Arizona Constitution by not funding Arizona public schools properly, and agreed that they are $3 billion behind in facilities. The problem with that is that money is not just magically going to happen. Now it's going into appeals process. So although we know that our schools are behind that amount of money, there is no money, which is why bonds and overrides are so essential right now. Always, but especially right now. So quick review of what vouchers have done in Arizona. The history of vouchers, I'm sure most of you have probably seen or heard them before because most of you have seen or heard our presentations. But in 2012, they started very, very low. So they were for special education students, foster kids, military families, and then they decided to progressively kind of expand them a little bit. And so the money went up, expanding it to different populations. And that was all a part of the plan to get to the point of universal vouchers. As you may or may not know, Save Our Schools Arizona was founded in 2017, and it was founded because the legislature did try to push through a universal voucher expansion. And our executive director, Beth Lewis, Sharon, Kathy, were all together. They're like, we cannot let this happen. They started Save Our Schools Arizona around Kathy's kitchen table, and they were able to get petitions together and get it on the ballot. And we voted it down. 65% of us voted against universal vouchers. Unfortunately, 2022, the legislature and Governor Ducey decided they were going to push that through anyway against the will of Arizona voters. And as you can see, what they estimated it would cost 64 million the first year. It did not. It cost over 300 million. And this year it will hit $1 billion. In fact, I think we're just probably weeks or months away from that $1 billion mark. Some impacts on your local schools. The total numbers are not 100% updated, but many of you probably know Kyrene is working through the process of closing schools because of, most people will say it's because of population decline. The reality is that's part of it, but that's not the only thing. There are over 1,200 students accounting for over $12 million using vouchers in the Kyrene Elementary District. And one thing this slide does not have on it is the percentage of students that were never in public schools, and that is over 80%. So most of those students were never in public school, did not leave public school. They were already choosing the private schooling option, whether it was homeschooling, private school, micro school, and paying for it. And now the state is paying for it because they have these oops, sorry. I did not mean to do that. They have I'm jumping all over the place. Where did my thing go? I lost sorry guys, give me 1 second to get this back. Goodness gracious, I'm going to stop sharing for 5 seconds. I apologize for that. My window just completely closed. Ugh, I'm going to bring it back up real quick. Anyway, I can tell you about it while I'm bringing this back up. So, all of that money that is going towards these vouchers for that over 80% of students is brand new money and a brand new cost to the state, meaning that we're not paying for it before. And that is how we got to this $1 billion mark, because all these people are in these private schools and now can get a tax subsidy. For that private school voucher of I had it up, there it is, of over $7,000 per kid. All right, here I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. Thanks for bearing with me. Now I just have to catch back up. Oh, there we go. So on to the updates. So what has happened so far, we'll go kind of quickly a little bit, we're backtracking. So what's happening in the federal government, we know in Arizona what's happened. So now it's being expanded to the federal government. And the idea is to get rid of the Department of Education and expand vouchers, and that's exactly what they're doing. So on March 3rd, Trump chose Secretary of Education Linda McMahon. She was confirmed, and she wrote her final mission was to destroy the department. On March 11th, they did those massive layoffs. We did see a federal judge postpone those layoffs and say that they weren't constitutional, but then eventually in the summer, the Supreme Court allowed all of those layoffs to carry through. So we're kind of in a similar boat right now, and that's a little bit terrifying. So on March 20th, they eliminated the Department of Education by executive order. Again, the legal system has been our backstop, but unfortunately, it only is pausing what's happening. The Trump administration doesn't seem to care about the law, as most of you probably have noticed. Realistically, shutting down the Department of Education would require an act of Congress, but as you have noticed, we're seeing all kinds of things happen that Congress is supposed to approve or have something to do with, and they are just stepping all over that. So we'll see what happens. But the Department of Ed is essential. What happened is in the 70s, the states were in charge of education, right? And the reason the Department of Ed was established is because students weren't all getting educated. In the 70s, about 20% of special needs students were being educated in schools. Most of them were either not educated or sent to institutions. Since the Department of Ed was established, that number is over 90% of special needs students have access to a public school education. So that is huge in and of itself. The Department of Education provides the legal protections for kids and families with special needs and making sure their rights are upheld. Of course, they distribute the funds, which we know are about $15 billion for these special programs for special needs, Title I, Native American students, homeless students on McKinney-Vento. They manage all of that money. And without the Department of Education, that's a lot of money that will not have controls over it, and therefore our most vulnerable students. This map is kind of eye-opening. If you'll notice, the lighter color states are the states that receive the least or no money from the federal government to prop up their public schools. And the darker the color, the more money they get from the federal government. Arizona gets nearly 20% of our overall education funding from the federal government. So you can see how cuts to these programs would impact Arizona hugely. Why is all of this happening? You've probably heard us say it before. The whole goal is to privatize public education. There are a couple of reasons for that. We have had billionaire-backed special interests come into Arizona and other states and push through voucher programs. The likes of Betsy DeVos, Turning Point has been huge in the voucher world. And the Walton family and so many more have come into Arizona and pushed through vouchers, and now we're working on pushing it through throughout the country. If you aren't aware, Project 2025, their education chapter was modeled after Arizona's ESA voucher program. The Heritage Foundation was a huge part of Arizona's Arizona's ESA voucher program. And as most of you know or do not know, you'll know now, the Heritage Foundation wrote Project 2025. So it is modeled after Arizona's program. And if you didn't know, as a part of the BBB bill, there was a passage of a federal voucher program. They use the word block grants because grant sounds a lot nicer than voucher. Just like in Arizona, they call them empowerment scholarship accounts instead of vouchers, but they are the same thing. The idea and how they're framed is that they're federal funds that are going to be returned back to the states, right? So the idea is, local control, local power. But as you remember, we talked about the Department of Education, and the reason we have a Department of Education is because the states were not protecting its kids and students and allowing them to have education. And so this returns the money back to the states, essentially meaning we're going to go back to how it was. There are no legal protections written in how those funds are distributed. So the reality is, if you think about who is running our state education system, that is Tom Horn. And so you have to think about him having access to the money and who our lawmakers are that are in control of our legislature. Of course, we have Governor Hobbs as a backstop, but there's only so much she can do. She has not been able to get any kind of controls into Arizona's ESA voucher program because she needs help at the legislature level. So the reality is, if this happens, they could easily divert some of this money to the ESA voucher program and then to private schools, parochial schools, meaning our Title I schools and our lower income kids once again are going to lose out. This is we just got this polling back, I want to say about 2 weeks ago. It's brand new information, and it shows that the messaging and what we're doing is working. People in Arizona, not just us, 12 News, Craig Harris has been amazing. Their investigative reporting. ABC did some about a year ago. But concerns around vouchers, as you can see, more than 75% of Arizona voters express concerns about misuse. And I'm not going to read through each of these percentages, but the vast majority of Arizonans support controls on the program, support income caps, and the things that Governor Hobbs and some other legislators have proposed at the legislature that our Republican leaders have refused to implement. So these are great numbers and great statistics, and it shows that the messaging and what we're doing, knocking doors and talking to voters, is definitely working. So what can you do, and what can we do to help stop this? I know it feels daunting, and it's a lot of hard things to hear, and it feels like it's too late sometimes, but it's not too late as long as we're willing, those of us that are here, and we keep gathering people in to fight back. As I mentioned earlier, we have our community action team. I am one of the East Valley coordinators along with Lisa. We are in the throes of bond and overrides right now, but that election is, we are 7 days away from that being over. And to kind of getting back to our regularly scheduled programming, we do community meetups where we will have like a coffee meetup or a happy hour meetup, and we'll buy you coffee, and we just sit and chat and kind of get to know each other with like-minded people. It's very low pressure. We try to do that once every month to 6 weeks. And then we also will gather people if we hear something's going on at a school board or something's going on at the ADE, we'll kind of reach out and say, hey, can you join us? We train you if you want to speak at those things. We can kind of help guide you and do a lot of different things. So this is our 501c3, but we do have our C4, and we do endorse candidates. We do knock doors, we phone bank, and we do all kinds of things. One of the reasons that I ended up with Save Our Schools Arizona is because I volunteered for a lot of different organizations. And they were all great and well-meaning, but I had very little time. I'm a single mom, and I knew that I just really wanted to invest my time well and didn't want to feel pressure if I said no. And that's kind of how I ended up here, because we know that, everybody has different capacity and a different ability for what they can do and when they can do it. And we appreciate anything you can do whenever you can. Last few things. Obviously using your voice, and I actually have actions you can take today at the end of this presentation. If you are not currently on request to speak, we will re-up that. We do trainings we partner with CEBV and do trainings for request to speak and help you get involved in that. And that will be when the legislature reconvenes coming up not very far away, January. So that's a great thing to do as well. If you are not signed up, as Janie mentioned, for our emails or to join us for our community action teams, this is the bit.ly link, or you can scan that QR code right now. I'll leave it for a moment. You can also follow up with me for links later on as well. Find it on our website. We're kind of everywhere. This is my ask. I have always struggled with it, but it's really important. Just as Jacob mentioned, the work we do takes time, takes money, takes people. And one of the things that we've been really encouraging people is we have this 1,000 Strong for Public Education campaign, and our goal is to get 1,000 donors to be monthly donors. And I will tell you, like, I donate $5 a month because that's what I can do right now. If I can do more at other times, I'll do individual donations, but I do $5 a month. And the reason I switched to doing that is because we had conversations, and being a sustaining donor where we know whether it's $5 or $10 or $20 a month, we know we can depend on that coming in every month, allows us to plan and to be able to know, can we print this lit for this time, or can we do this voter registration outreach, or can we pay for our mobilize, or the different things that we use, the tools that we use. So I know it's going to sound a little bit crazy, but we, if at all possible, becoming a sustaining donor is what we really, really need more than anything. Obviously, we're never going to look down on or say no to any donation, but if you are able to be a sustaining donor, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month goes a really long way and allows us to plan long-term. So I will leave that there for a moment. And then my last slide is actions you can take right now. So you saw them share our Speak Up page. We have a part of our website, is a Speak Up page, and it has actions that take less than 5 minutes. There are several actions, so all in told, it might take you 15 or 20 minutes, but there are actions that take 5 minutes. They are automated emails. We have 4 different emails up there right now, and they're kind of in order of newest to oldest in priority level. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to actually pull that page up if you guys are all right with that for a minute, just to show you what it looks like. So you're familiar. You don't have to do it right at this moment, but
Leda, those are the ones that I've been sharing every month because they're incredible. It's just it's a direct link to action. And as you said, it only takes a few minutes and you don't have to work. You just have to tell people what you feel, and numbers make a difference. If 5 people respond, that's nice. But if 50 respond, that's fabulous. So yeah, we encourage people to just click on and make their voices heard. And while I have the podium, what I'm going to say, if you have not gone to the SOS Arizona website, you must go there. I'm a retired teacher. I've been a public education advocate for 60 years, and I think I know so much. And I get on the SOS Arizona website and I think, oh my God, I didn't know that. Or, oh, I can do this right now. It just takes all of the guesswork out of what you want to do to support public education. And now more than in my lifetime, I've never seen such attacks, vicious attacks on public education. And those are attacks on democracy. Because if we don't have a well-informed public, we're not going to have well-informed voters and we will lose our democracy. So please, if nothing else, get on SOSAZ so you know what you're feeling, so you know what you're talking about when you tell other people about the abuses of public education. And as Leda said, give $5 a month, $10 a month, because then they can plan. All right, in December, we need to do this literature, or in January, we need to, can we do it? If there's a monthly donation that you're giving, then they know they can do that, or they can ask for more. So whatever amount you can give a month, that is great. Go ahead, Leda.
So I just pulled up the Speak Up page just because I want to kind of show it to you, because we update it regularly. So just because you were on it, maybe I know this Restore Special Education Cuts is new on there within the last week. So we do update it regularly. It doesn't mean we have new things every week, but that's our new one. And so that is, so as I mentioned, under the cover of the shutdown, the Trump administration decided to fire the entire special education department that manages $15 billion in funding, that covers protections of IDEA. And so we use an automated email system called New Mode. And so you would just click on send an email. I'm just going to go walk you through it just so you can see what it looks like. It is the most simple thing on earth. You would put in your name and address, and then it has a formatted email. And we always encourage you to edit it. See, it's got my name. And then these are the people it's going to go to, those check marks, Department of Ed Security and my representatives, unfortunately. And then it has you the email that you can edit. So we always encourage you to personalize it a little bit, change a sentence or two, add anything personal that you feel comfortable sharing there. And then you just click add your voice and it sends this email off for you. And I can't tell you how much I love this, because I am so busy and I want to take action, but honestly, I probably wouldn't do nearly as much if we didn't have these. There's also one, I don't know if you've heard of the Extreme Civics takeover, but groups like Turning Point and several others are trying to partner with the Department of Education and change what the civics, patriotic education in our schools. It's wild. So the official window closed on the 17th for their feedback, but you can still send an email and have an impact on that as well. And then we do have a couple others. This is specific to Arizona, just telling them you want to stop the voucher grift, the fraud and abuse. And we have both calls and emails. And it's the same thing for calls. I'll click on it just so you guys can see what it looks like real quick as well. Gives you a little backstory at the top, and then you go to the bottom and it tells you who you're going to call. These are my representatives, unfortunately. And then you click make the call button, and you have your phone ready, and it like calls your phone, and then it starts calling your representatives, and it gives you the messages up here about what you want to say to them. So quick, easy, takes just a few minutes. If you're kind of like me and you don't always love talking to somebody, you can call in the evenings or on a Sunday, and you will just be able to leave a message. And they do track the number of calls regarding an item and the number of emails they get. So it's okay to do it more than once. It's okay to do it once a week if you want to, but taking these actions are really important. And I'm going to do one last plug and then I will stop. So I do organizing as part-time, and then I do the social media for Save Our Schools part-time. If you do not follow us on social media, we are everywhere. We are on all the social medias. We post, not necessarily every day, but 3 to 4 times a day, most days. Sometimes it's 1 post, sometimes it's 5 posts. It really kind of depends what's going on. We share everything from news stories to actions you can take to our mobilized links to sign up and work with us. So I highly encourage you, if you are on social media, to please follow us. We work really hard to make it as easy as possible. I post links and stories. I respond to DMs there. So if you have a question about something, that's a pretty quick way. I'm on there a lot. And any likes, shares, comments pushes us out into the algorithm. Well, something I'm really proud of is our Instagram was under 5,000 followers at the start of the year, and we're over 8,000 now, and we are growing really quickly. Our views are huge, and a lot of people that don't follow us are viewing our stuff, which tells me our message is getting out there, and that's because people like you share it, and that's how more people are seeing it. So thank you so much for your support. We could not grow and do the work we do without you all. And I do want to say, we have an amazing Gen Z roundtable that we're kind of coordinating with Unity Rising, Jacob, and Keep Arizona Blue. They're doing phone banks most Wednesdays. So if you have a young person that is interested in getting involved in phone banking, they just did an in-person one last week. They made 1,300 calls last Wednesday. And some of it's voter registration or bond and override support. It's amazing what they do. And then the one other thing that we're doing that I think is hugely important, and you can do from the comfort of your home on Thursdays, we have a phone bank, and it's new registrations. It's people that have been vetted and they are coming from out of state and moving here. So they're new to here, and they tend to be, they're vetted pretty well. So you're not calling like cold calls, calling people that are like, I don't know if we should be registering these people, right? They're not going to vote for public education. You can be pretty confident you are registering people that we need to register. So we do those every Thursday virtually, and if you've never done it, they do offer trainings. It's a great training to get you started and all the support you need. So Suzanne, we are on YouTube. We post selectively on YouTube. So when we do like town halls or longer format things, sometimes our book clubs are on YouTube, but we don't post like every day on YouTube like we do on all the other socials. But we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're on Substack. We're on LinkedIn. We're on all of them. What did I miss? I don't know. We're on all the things. Oh, Blue Sky. We're still on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. We're there too. We're everywhere.
Thank you so much, Leda, for being with us today. And yeah, SOS Arizona, if nothing else, at least get online with them. You can do all of your action if you need to online. It's there, the phone calls, the emails. And I really encourage you to do a monthly contribution of $5, $10 a month. That way they can plan, and this next year is going to be a maker or a breaker for public education in the United States. And as I said before, public education is the pillar of democracy. We need to support that. As a 60-year veteran of the classroom, I depend on SOS Arizona to let me know what's going on, what I can do every day, multiple times a day, to support what I feel is the most important pillar for democracy. So thank you, Leda, again. Susie and Leda have both been putting links in the chat, so make sure that you save them. Wow, today has been an incredible program. Thank you again, Leda, for being with us today. And thank you all again for being our participants today. Remember, in November, we have Copper State Victory and voting trends in Arizona information that we really need for November 26th. And December, there will be no program. Let's see. I can't, there we go. No program. So happy holidays for you and your family. In January, we will have Keep Arizona Blue with Francesca Martin, and both Jacob and Leda have referred to Keep Arizona Blue. It's another organization that is making incredible strides with Arizona voters. We'll have some down ballot critical candidates, Arizona Corporation Commission, and constables and justices of the peace. So join us for that. And then our favorite son in February, Adrian Fontes, our Arizona Secretary of State. So please join us for those programs and keep your foot on the gas. Do whatever you can. We've given you 2 wonderful opportunities to keep your foot on the gas. Thank you all. Have a wonderful month, and we'll see you in November.